All right. Welcome, everyone, to another deep dive.
Yeah, excited for this one.
This time, we're going right into Bitcoin.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you see it everywhere.
Yeah?
It's on the news all the time.
All the time.
Probably a lot of you even own some. But do you really, understand it?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it?
You know what's going on under the hood?
Under the hood.
I think in this, crazy digital world we live in,
For sure.
a true understanding of Bitcoin can give you a serious edge.
100%.
So, what do you think our goal should be for this deep dive?
Well, I think we need to cut through all the noise and jargon,
Okay.
all the crazy technical terms.
Yeah.
And really make Bitcoin's core concepts super clear.
Yeah.
You know, for everyone listening, we're talking blockchain, mining, proof of work,
Yeah.
private keys, all that good stuff.
All the good stuff.
And by the end, you'll understand how it all fits together.
That's the goal.
Like a puzzle, you know?
Okay, so to start off, let's talk about something everyone understands.
Okay.
Imagine owing someone $10.
Okay.
What's the simplest way to handle that? Cash, right?
Yeah, cash is king.
You hand it over, they take it, it's instant, person to person, and pretty private.
Private, yeah.
No banks, no apps, just straight up cash.
I think what's fascinating about that simple cash transaction
Yeah.
is how trustless it is in that moment.
It's true?
The act of handing over the cash is the verification itself.
Yeah.
You don't need some third party to confirm that it happened.
You don't need to sign anything.
Yeah,
There's no record.
exactly.
Exactly.
It's just done.
But cash has its limits.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You both need to be in the same place.
Yeah, you got to get together.
What if you had to pay someone across the country? Overseas, even?
Yeah, that's not as simple with cash.
Mailing cash? That takes forever.
That's slow.
Risky?
Risky. Could get lost.
Yeah, and it can cost you...
Postage isn't free,
No, it's not.
so it's not ideal.
Yeah, that's why we've mostly moved to electronic payments,
Oh, yeah, electronic payments are everywhere.
Bank transfers, services like Wise, debit cards, credit cards, PayPal, the list goes on and on.
The list is endless these days.
But if we zoom out a little bit,
Okay.
you realize all these fancy modern conveniences,
Yeah,
they all have one thing in common.
they do.
A middleman.
Yeah, there's always a middleman lurking.
You got your bank, your payment processor.
Your transfer service.
Someone's always sitting there
right in the middle.
between the sender and the receiver.
Facilitating that transaction.
Yeah, and we have to trust them, right?
Yeah, that's the key.
Trust that they'll do it right.
That they'll keep your money safe.
Yeah, keep it secure.
The whole thing runs on trust.
That's kind of how we got to Bitcoin.
Right. Bitcoin was designed to solve those problems.
Yeah, it was envisioned as digital cash.
Digital cash, interesting concept.
Yeah, made for direct peer-to-peer transfers.
Like cash, but online.
Online, over the internet.
Yeah.
You cut out the need for any of those middlemen.
No more trusted third parties.
Like the speed of handing over cash,
Yeah.
but no geographical boundaries.
It can go anywhere.
Exactly.
That's the beauty of it.
So how would you define Bitcoin then?
So Bitcoin is really a two-part thing.
Okay.
First, you have the software program itself.
Okay.
It lays out all the rules of the game.
Right.
And then the second part is the online network,
Okay.
where all those rules are enforced.
So it's like the rule book and the playing field.
Exactly. So this network allows people
Yeah.
to transfer value directly to each other online without needing that intermediary.
Okay.
And the native currency, what we use to transfer that value,
Yeah.
is also called Bitcoin.
Okay, so the network is Bitcoin.
Right.
And the currency is Bitcoin.
Exactly.
Often abbreviated BTC.
BTC, that's right.
Okay.
So you'll see it both ways.
Now, where did this whole thing come from?
The million-dollar question.
Yeah. Who dreamed up Bitcoin?
Well, the origins of Bitcoin can be traced back to this mysterious figure,
Okay.
or maybe even a group of people known as Satoshi Nakamoto.
Satoshi Nakamoto.
Yeah, and to this day,
Yeah.
nobody knows who they really are.
It's like one of the biggest mysteries of the internet.
It really is. It's fascinating.
So this Satoshi Nakamoto
Yeah.
released a paper,
Very important paper.
Halloween 2008,
October 31st.
spooky day.
Spooky indeed. And the paper itself was groundbreaking.
What was it called?
It was called Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system.
Okay, Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system.
That was the title.
And it starts with a really powerful statement.
It does.
It sets the stage for the whole thing.
Absolutely.
What does it say?
So it starts off by saying a purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash would allow online payments to be sent directly from one party to another.
Okay.
Without going through a financial institution.
No financial institution.
That's the key right there.
That's the whole idea.
That one sentence really captures the revolutionary spirit of Bitcoin.
It's so simple, but so powerful.
Right.
But here's where things get really tricky.
Oh yeah, there are definitely challenges.
Satoshi had to solve this huge problem.
A fundamental problem.
How do you create a system for online transactions where there's no central authority?
No one in charge.
And you have to prevent people from spending the same digital money twice.
That's the double spending problem.
Exactly.
A big one to solve.
And you can't just rely on everyone being honest.
No, that's not how the world works, unfortunately.
It would be nice, but it's just not realistic.
Right. You can't build a whole financial system on hope.
So how do you make sure that digital money is scarce?
Yeah, that's the key. Scarcity.
How do you prevent fraud?
Especially when there's no physical object to keep track of.
Yeah, there's no like gold bars backing it up.
Exactly. It's all digital.
How did they do it?
Well, let's look at how traditional banking solves this problem first.
Okay, good idea.
Banks keep very detailed records of everyone's balances. Yeah. Every transaction that happens.
They're the record keepers.
Exactly. So when you make an electronic payment, your bank updates their internal ledger.
So it all comes down to trusting the bank.
Right. We have to trust that the bank's records are accurate.
Yeah.
And that nobody's messed with them.
And we trust the central banks.
Yeah, the big guys.
Not to just print a bunch of money and devalue our savings.
Right. And we've seen a lot of concern about that recently.
People are worried.
Yeah, for good reason.
So Satoshi came up with this totally different solution.
Yeah, a revolutionary solution.
Instead of centralized,
they went distributed.
Distributed, okay.
So with Bitcoin, anyone can run a piece of software.
On their own computer.
Yeah, it's called a node.
A node, okay.
And that node keeps a full record of every Bitcoin transaction.
Wow, so everyone has a copy of the ledger.
That's the idea, a distributed ledger.
It's like instead of one central bank keeping track of everything,
right,
you have thousands of computers all over the world.
All working together.
Maintaining the same record.
And constantly updating it.
It's like a global network of bookkeepers.
Exactly. All verifying each other's work.
That's actually really clever.
It is. And it makes the system way more secure.
How so?
Well, think about it. With a traditional bank, all their data is in one place. One central database.
Makes it a big target.
A huge target for hackers.
Yeah.
Or it could just fail on its own.
Right, one point of failure.
Exactly. But with Bitcoin's distributed system, it's way more resilient.
Because it's spread out.
It's spread out. There's no single point of attack.
So if one node goes down, the whole network doesn't crash.
It keeps running.
That's pretty cool.
It's a very robust system.
So we've got these transactions happening all the time.
Sounds silly.
But they don't just magically appear everywhere at once.
No, there's a process.
What happens?
So new transactions get bundled together.
Okay.
They get checked and validated by the nodes, and then they're grouped into a block.
A block.
Yeah. Think of it like a container for data.
Okay.
But these blocks aren't just floating around on their own.
So they're connected somehow.
They're linked together in a specific order.
Okay.
Chronological order.
Like a chain.
Exactly, a chain of blocks.
The blockchain.
The blockchain, that's it.
Ah, it all makes sense now.
It's quite elegant, really.
And this linking process is what makes the blockchain so secure.
It's a crucial part of the security.
Okay.
Each new block contains a special fingerprint.
A fingerprint?
Yeah, it's called a hash.
A hash?
Think of it as a unique digital summary of all the data in that block.
Okay.
And that hash is linked to the hash of the previous block.
So they're all connected?
They're all chained together, yeah.
So if someone tried to change something...
Like a transaction in an older block?
Yeah.
It would change that block's hash.
Yeah.
Which wouldn't match the hash recorded in the next block.
Ah, so it would be obvious that something was wrong.
Exactly. It would set off alarm bells across the entire network.
And that makes it basically tamper-proof.
Tamper-proof. Yeah, you can't go back and rewrite history.
It's like a permanent record.
A permanent, transparent record.
Okay, so we've got this network of nodes.
Thousands of them.
All keeping track of the blockchain.
Making sure everything is running smoothly.
But who's in charge of the whole thing?
Well, that's the beauty of it. No one is.
Really?
It's a decentralized system.
So there's no CEO of Bitcoin.
Nope, no central authority.
No one to call if something goes wrong.
That's right. The system is designed to run on its own.
So how does it actually work then?
Well, the nodes are a big part of it.
Okay.
Anyone can run a node.
You don't need special permission or anything?
Nope, it's open to everyone.
Well, how do you do it?
You just need a basic computer.
Oh, okay.
With enough storage space for the transaction history.
That's probably a lot of data by now.
It is, but it's manageable.
And you need a good internet connection.
Yeah, your node needs to be able to communicate with the other nodes.
So what do you get out of running a node?
Well, you're contributing to the network's decentralization.
You're part of the system.
You're helping to keep Bitcoin running smoothly.
That's pretty cool.
It is. You're kind of like a digital citizen.
And you're helping to make sure the system is secure.
Exactly. The more nodes there are, the harder it is to attack the network.
But there's another group of people involved.
Yeah, we've got the miners.
The miners, okay.
They're like specialized nodes.
What makes them special?
They play a key role in keeping the network secure.
Okay.
And they get rewarded for their efforts.
With Bitcoin.
With Bitcoin, that's right.
So tell me more about these miners.
So miners are responsible for adding new blocks to the blockchain.
The blocks full of transactions.
Exactly.
Okay.
And they get rewarded for their work.
With Bitcoin.
With newly created Bitcoin.
Okay, but there's a limit on the total amount of Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, that's a key feature of Bitcoin.
So how does that work with mining?
So the total supply of Bitcoin is capped at 21 million coins.
21 million, okay.
But all those coins don't exist from the start.
They're created gradually?
Yeah. They're released over time as a reward to miners.
Okay.
When they add a new block to the blockchain.
So it's like a built-in incentive.
Exactly, to keep people mining.
And to keep the network secure.
Right, because without miners, the system wouldn't function.
So how do these miners actually add blocks to the blockchain?
That's where proof of work comes in.
Proof of work, okay.
It's a very clever mechanism.
What does it involve?
So basically, miners have to solve a really complex puzzle.
The puzzle?
Yeah, a cryptographic puzzle.
Okay, so it's not like a crossword puzzle.
No, it's all math and code.
What kind of puzzle is it?
Well, in simple terms, it's like a guessing game.
A guessing game.
They have to guess a random number.
Okay.
But it's a huge number.
And they just keep guessing until they get it right.
Pretty much. But it takes a lot of computing power.
So the first one to guess the right number wins?
Wins the right to add the next block to the blockchain.
And they get the Bitcoin reward.
Right, it's a competition.
And it uses a ton of electricity.
Yeah, that's one of the big criticisms of Bitcoin.
The environmental impact.
It's a real concern.
But there's a lot of work being done to make it more sustainable.
Yeah, more and more miners are using renewable energy.
That's good to hear.
It's a positive trend.
But, you know, not everyone needs to be a miner.
No, absolutely not.
Or even run a node to use Bitcoin.
Right, anyone can use Bitcoin.
You just need an internet connection.
Yeah, and a Bitcoin address.
Okay, so let's talk about how Bitcoin transactions actually stay secure.
Okay, security is paramount.
A big part of that is public key encryption.
A fundamental concept in cryptography.
Sounds complicated.
The name is a bit intimidating.
But the idea is actually pretty straightforward.
Yeah, once you break it down.
So how does it work?
It all revolves around three things.
Okay.
A private key,
Okay.
a public key,
All right.
and a Bitcoin address.
Got it. So let's break those down one by one.
Sounds good.
What's a private key?
Your private key is like the master key to your Bitcoin.
Okay.
It's a randomly generated string of characters.
Like a password?
Kind of, but way more complex.
Okay.
And you have to keep it secret.
Super secret.
If you lose it, you lose access to your Bitcoin.
Oh, wow. So it's like losing the key to your safe.
Exactly. And if someone else gets hold of your private key,
They can steal your Bitcoin.
they can spend it. Yeah.
That's scary.
So you have to be extremely careful with your private key.
Okay. What about the public key?
So the public key is derived from your private key
Derived. Okay.
through a special mathematical process. And you can share your public key freely.
So it's not a secret.
Not a secret, no.
Why would you share it?
Because people needed to send you Bitcoin.
Ah, so
Yeah.
it's like your bank account number.
Exactly. It's how people know where to send the money.
Okay, and then we have the Bitcoin address.
Right. The Bitcoin address is generated from your public key.
Through more math.
Yeah, more complex calculations.
And that's what you actually give people to send you Bitcoin.
Exactly. It's a string of letters and numbers.
Or sometimes a QR code.
Right. QR codes are becoming more common.
So you can just scan it with your phone.
Makes it really easy to send and receive Bitcoin.
Okay, so we've got these keys and addresses.
Yeah.
How do we actually manage them?
That's where Bitcoin wallets come in.
Bitcoin wallets. Okay.
Think of it like a digital keychain.
For your Bitcoin keys.
Exactly. It holds your private keys
And your addresses.
and your Bitcoin addresses.
Okay.
And it allows you to interact with the Bitcoin network.
So you can send and receive Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's the interface you use to manage your Bitcoin.
So how do you get a Bitcoin wallet?
There are a lot of different options.
Okay.
But for most people, the easiest way to get started is through an exchange.
Like Coinbase or Binance?
Yeah, those are two of the most popular ones.
So you create an account on the exchange, and they give you a wallet.
They automatically generate a wallet for you.
Okay. And then you can buy Bitcoin.
Yeah, you deposit some traditional currency.
It's US dollars, euros, whatever.
And then you can use that to buy Bitcoin.
At the current market price.
Right. The price fluctuates all the time.
It's very volatile.
Very volatile, yeah.
But there's something important to understand here.
Oh, yeah, this is crucial.
When you hold your Bitcoin on an exchange, they're actually the ones holding your private keys.
That's right. They have custody of your keys.
So you're trusting them with your Bitcoin.
You are. And that can be risky.
Why risky?
Well, exchanges can be hacked.
It's happened before.
It has, unfortunately.
And sometimes they even go bankrupt.
Yeah, FTX was a big example of that.
So you could lose all your Bitcoin.
It's a possibility if you're not careful.
That's why self-custody is so important.
Self-custody is the key.
What is self-custody?
It means you hold your own private keys.
You're in control.
No one else can touch them.
And that aligns with the whole idea of Bitcoin.
Yeah, the whole point of Bitcoin is to be trustless.
No need to trust anyone else.
You're in charge of your own money.
So how do you do self-custody?
There are a couple of main ways.
Okay.
You can use a software wallet,
Okay.
which is an app on your phone or computer.
So you store your private keys on your own device.
Right. But you have to keep your device secure.
Make sure it's not hacked or stolen.
Yeah, strong passwords, all that good stuff.
And then there's hardware wallets.
Hardware wallets are even more secure.
Okay, how do they work?
They're like little USB drives,
Okay.
but they're specifically designed to store private keys.
And they stay offline.
Yeah, so they're much harder to hack.
So they're like a physical vault for your Bitcoin.
Exactly, a very safe way to store your keys.
Okay, I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have. It's been a deep dive.
From peer-to-peer cash to the blockchain to self-custody.
We've really explored the foundations of Bitcoin.
And now that you understand how it all works,
Yeah.
it raises some really interesting questions.
Big questions about the future.
What does a truly trustless digital currency mean for the world?
How will it change the way we think about money?
How will it affect our financial freedom?
These are questions we all need to be thinking about.
Yeah, because Bitcoin is more than just an investment.
It's a whole new way of thinking about finance.
It has the potential to change everything,
And it's all thanks to that mysterious Satoshi Nakamoto,
whoever they are.
a true visionary.
All right, that's it for our deep dive on Bitcoin.
Hope you enjoyed it.
If you learned something new today,
Yeah, if you're excited about the future of finance
and you want to hear more deep dives like this,
on all sorts of fascinating topics,
hit that subscribe button.
and leave us a comment below.
Tell us what you want us to explore next.
We're always looking for new ideas.
And until next time, keep on learning
Keep on diving deep.
and stay curious.
Curiosity is key.
See y'all soon.
Take care.
All right.
Bye.